So the purpose of this summit is to explore the power of AI for all humanity. And only when economic and social development is at population scale, we will realize the true potential of AI. So what are the initiatives and actions that can ensure that, especially in our region? So for the next session, this session is really our top level session. I would like to invite IDB president or BID, as we know, our most loved ally in the region, the president Mauricio Claver Carone, to have a chat with our top executive for government affairs at Intel, Bruce Andrews, and they will chat especially on that, on what initiatives, what actions they see in our region to move forward with AI, especially in a responsible way. So I leave you with Mauricio and Bruce and with Bane from CINDE in Costa Rica that will act as the moderator.
So 3 years ago, IDB, the Inter-American Development Bank, started the FAIRLAC initiative, the biggest alliance for a responsible AI in Latin America and the Caribbean region. The IDB, together with governments, private sector, academia, and NGOs, created a path for good quality projects in the use of AI in the region and in our societies. In these 3 years, there has been created publication, knowledge, tools that our officials in the region are able to use, as well as international organizations, in order to have clear guides to design and evaluate AI projects. There's also the largest observatory of AI projects and also pilot projects that, using the AI components, are able to develop around partners such as Colombia, Jalisco, Costa Rica, and Uruguay that hope to serve as a reference for good ethical use of AI. Many things have happened, and there's even much more to come. One of the pillars of the vision of 2025 for the IDB is precisely the digital economy to support and expand to improve the quality of social services in the region. Today, FAIRLAX welcome a new partner, Intel. And in order to celebrate, we have two distinguished guests today. We have president of the IDB, Mr. Mauricio Claver Carone, which we recognize and appreciate your time. And we also have Mr. Bruce Andrews, the corporate vice president and chief government affairs officer at Intel. Mr. Bruce, thank you very much as well for your time. So I will start this panel actually starting off with a question for President Carones. We have here Intel, a tech company talking about AI. No surprises there. But what is IDB doing here? A development bank, an institution that traditionally is working with governments, is also working in technology. Why? And how did he start? Mr. Carone?
Oh, why wouldn't we be here? Oh, anyway, I'm joking. Thank you so much, Vanessa. It's really a pleasure to see you. And by the way, congratulate again, CINDE for all the great work it does. It's really best in its class amongst investment promotion agencies in the region. And I'd like to start off by thanking Intel for joining the FAIRLAC, which is the largest regional alliance for ethical and responsible use of technology, and particularly to do so while Bruce is now here at Intel, who's an old friend from past lives, and I'm really thrilled to be able to do this with Bruce in this regard. So look, we're here because this is the future. This is why the IDB is here. It's going to really transform the world, and really it's at our doorstep. Just a few years ago, when we thought about the use of technology in our daily lives, we were really just thinking about the use of Google Maps, Netflix, Facebook, WhatsApp, right, on our mobile devices. But that's really changed radically. Today, it's not only technology playing a much bigger role in every facet of our lives, but artificial intelligence is a major unseen factor behind the application and use of that technology. There are AI algorithms that can help prevent diseases. Good example, Costa Rica. Work right now is underway using AI to really detect breast cancer with no more than, frankly, an image and an algorithm. Artificial intelligence is also being used in decision-making, education systems, in many of our children's schools in Peru, Ecuador, Brazil. There's already work on a pilot project with algorithms that automatically assign teachers and students to different schools. Now, these uses and applications really have a number of immediate benefits, and some of those are simple as making the systems we use more user-friendly, but they also have medium and long-term benefits as well. AI can help increase transparency, increase efficiency, or reduce the inequality within our educational systems. Moreover, artificial intelligence is also being used like never before to help people find jobs. In Peru and in Costa Rica, we're working with the national governments in labor intermediation projects using AI to find matches between candidates and job positions, which is key. And these programs could also suggest additional information about the necessary skills, for example, to secure one of those jobs. AI really has the potential, let me underscore, has the potential to revolutionize all aspects of our lives. But it's not, of course, without risks. And that's why I'm here today with Intel. So I doubt it'll come as a shock that the technology is usually moving faster than regulation in that regards. And, we need to make sure that it's catching up, by the way, not in a prohibitive manner. And we've seen this, for example, clearly with ride sharing. We've seen it with cryptocurrencies, with digital payments. And this can be a great, great thing because technology opens areas for innovation, for better solutions, but it can also put governments in a position where they're just reacting and playing catch up. And again, it has to be in a productive manner, not in a prohibitive manner. But to back up slightly and respond to the later part of your question, the IDB noticed early on that artificial intelligence was cropping up in all sorts of unexpected places in the region. Right? Over the past couple of years alone, we mapped all the public funded projects using AI in the region and really found more than 30 projects in 10 countries. At the same time, we found that only 2 countries had a comprehensive strategy for embracing artificial intelligence at that time. Only 2, Colombia and Uruguay at the time. The good news is that others are beginning to work based on what the lessons learned there have been. And we dug deeper and found that both the opportunities and the risks are huge. For example, artificial intelligence can amplify certain kinds of inequality as well as it might affect privacy, the integrity of personal data. And knowing this, governments in the region were telling us that they needed help to prepare for this revolution, frankly, so that it can be a source of opportunity and growth while alleviating and ensuring that it doesn't create conflict. So we decided to start working in this space and have brought together the best private and public sector thinking from around the world. And we're hoping that our collaboration with Intel is going to help us multiply and promote the ethical use of artificial intelligence across the region. And I can think of no better partner than Intel.
Definitely. And I want to say that I'm also a big fan of AI, as well as President Carone has mentioned. And I would like to hear if that's the same position Mr. Andrews have. Actually, my question would be, is it going to be present in your life? What are the state of AI in the world and how do you see it evolving? What is the most exciting thing about AI for us today?
Well, thank you for the question, Vanessa. And first, thank you for having us here. And second, it's great to see my friend Mauricio. Glad to see you are doing well. So Vanessa, to your question, technology has never been more relevant for humanity than it is now. Every single aspect of our lives is becoming digital, enabled by the 4 key superpowers: cloud, mobility, the intelligent edge, and AI. AI is set to transcend and transform the world and will explode when combined with the other superpowers. For instance, in gaining productivity, the gains that we've seen by applying AI to 5G generated data will reach almost $18 trillion in the next 15 years. And you ask why Intel? Well, Intel is a unique company that we have the depth and the breadth of silicon, platform, software, architecture, design, manufacturing, and scale, all of this that economies need to capitalize on these opportunities like AI in Latin America. Many Latin American countries lack a national AI strategy and lack the programs to train people to provide the skill sets needed for the productive and fair use of AI. So during the last year, Intel has started to work with governments to deploy skills programs in 3 countries, in Argentina, in Costa Rica, and Mexico. Our focus is on the youth and the future workforce populations looking for their first job experiences.
Great. And actually, back to President Carones, I think in work context, Latin America, there's one thing what's happening in South Korea and Silicon Valley and so on. But can you give us a fast tour of the AI adoption strategy in the region?
That's a great question. And by the way, Vanessa, just Mauricio. Look, the adoption of AI in Latin America and the Caribbean is growing exponentially. We're currently updating our map of all the projects that use artificial intelligence for public services. And we're doing actually that in collaboration with UNESCO. We're going to be publishing the results of that mapping process publicly in the spring. But before then, let me give you some preliminary data. The countries with the most projects are Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Mexico, and I wouldn't be surprised if Colombia makes that list pretty soon. Again, the results are going to be ready spring of 2022, but the areas where we're seeing the most activity are education, agriculture, environmental protection, and health, especially telemedicine. And we're in a unique phase post-pandemic, dealing and obviously learning about digitalization and a huge opportunity. We call it 3 teles, education, telemedicine, and telework. Another great example is an AI-assisted telemedicine platform originally developed by entrepreneurs in Colombia. We called it OneDoc3. And that allows users to really start a health evaluation process without the need of an appointment or a desktop computer. It can just be done from your phone, believe it or not. So the system, that OneDoc3, screens patients using AI-driven symptom checkers and guides them really to different physicians based on this assessment, which is game-changing. And by screening patients remotely, the platform saves times for patients and doctors and also increases the amount of people that can receive care in each period. Since the onset of the pandemic, the OneDoc3 platform has seen an increase by a factor of 11 in consultations and has already served more than 1 million users. And that is one platform, and it's not an isolated event. Another one, Portal Telemedicina, another good example of AI use. It's a platform that reaches more than 33 million patients served by hospitals and clinics in 280 cities in Brazil and also Angola, which is out of my region, but it goes across, it's cross-Atlantic. The platform, this one has been able to really detect COVID-19 cases in less than 10 minutes with 95% accuracy. And they're now broadening healthcare access to remote areas at an affordable cost, benefiting low-income and marginalized communities, which is obviously a key development goal for us. At the IDB, we've launched 4 regional FAIRLAC hubs. We've done so in Mexico, Costa Rica, Colombia, and in Uruguay. And those have the common objective of promoting the ethical and responsible use of artificial intelligence. However, to really benefit from the opportunities that are being created by this 4th industrial revolution, it's necessary to strengthen governance and institutions, modernize regulatory frameworks, develop digital talent, and deploy infrastructure and technological tools. And we're working in all of those areas to promote a digital transformation in the region, which happens to be one of the key 5 pillars of our Vision 2025, which is our roadmap for the recovery of the region post-pandemic.
Definitely, and thank you very much. I think it's very exciting, and actually I should also highlight the fact that Costa Rica is also being benefit from the vision of the IDB. CINDE itself is executing right now a project with AI to develop a platform for actually suggesting to individuals routes on which they will be able to develop skills. So definitely the private sector has a key role, and having Intel join in this effort, it's quite significant. So Mr. Andrews, to be specific, what role do you think private sector have here? Are they a mere provider of technology? Can they do something else? Is it something that you consider you must do particularly?
Sure. So the private sector has a huge role to play here because, Intel is more than just a technology provider. We exist to create a world-changing technology that improves the lives of every person on the planet. This gathering of 50+ AI leaders from 5 continents that we have called AI.all is an example of Intel's commitment to better society. Intel has set a goal to have at least 30 countries with our skills program, AI for Youth, and we hope that several of these countries will come from Latin America. Latin America requires to accelerate key technologies adoption to overcome structural productivity problems that have hurt the competitiveness of the region during the last 2 decades. The wide impact of AI policies may change dramatically the productivity of key industries in the region, like agriculture, oil and gas, e-commerce, retail, and financial services and tourism. So we look at this as a real opportunity. And we're excited that Intel has started to cooperate with IADB's transportation unit in creating a roadmap for the digital transformation of that industry. Latin America has the highest road traffic deaths, about 135,000 per year in the world. And so Intel technologies based on AI are crucial to helping to bring those numbers down.
I think it's very exciting, all the insights that you have shared with us. And for the Alliance of FAIRLAC being Costa Rica part of it and Cindy hosting the chapter for Costa Rica, we look forward to the next phase of this alliance and having Intel as our partner. So I have one final question for you both. There's actually the interest of understanding and you sharing with us your vision for this alliance and how do you see the future of AI?
What do you want first?
Mr. Mauricio.
I'll take it. Well, first of all, thank you. And before I show you the vision, let me just say something Bruce mentioned in regards to the work we're doing on the transportation unit with Intel and IDB. Look, this is key because road safety is not only a human tragedy in the cost of lives, but it's also an economic tragedy. It costs about 5 to 10% of GDP in the region per year. So this could be a game changer here, not only to save lives, but also to improve people's lives economically. So let me get to your question on visions. And I have two visions for FAIRLAC. In the short term, I really want us to move beyond the debate about ethics and diversity in AI, because obviously we solved it, and put practical tools into people's hands. And that's key. And we're focusing on releasing checklists, manuals, MOOCs, financial incentives, algorithm audits, and other assets that entrepreneurs, companies, and public authorities alike can use in their projects. All new technologies have had risks and downsides, but not participating is simply not an option. And our role is to provide the best solutions, and that's what we're committed to do. I'm confident that there'll be technology and policy solutions to address the challenges of artificial intelligence's influence, and we intend to be at the forefront of that process. My vision for the long term is extraordinarily optimistic, as I tend to be. I think artificial intelligence opens new ways of thinking about public policy. It's going to help our students thrive and compete in the digital economy, which is very important in a region, by the way, that had 60 million kids that were not able to educate themselves just because of connectivity issues. So just imagine continuing not just the connectivity, but the skill sets moving forward. And it's going to give us more effective means of adapting to climate change and decarbonizing our economies. It's going to help us prevent chronic diseases. It could also help minimize the risk or avoiding altogether future pandemics, which would be ideal. It's going to impact the speed and fairness of social changes. And it's going to revolutionize trade and logistics, which are critical to our long-term growth. In 4 years, in 2025, I think we'll be living in a very different world thanks to artificial intelligence and other technologies. But it's going to be up to us to make sure that we get there in a way that avoids conflict, maximizes human potential. And I cannot be prouder that the IDB is leading in this space with partners like Intel.
Great. Thank you. Andrew?
Yes. So in the short term, Intel will keep working together with IADB and creating practical tools that decision makers need. We can help, for instance, in guidelines with best practices of AI adoption. We can focus on key verticals like transportation, energy, oil and gas, finance, and retail to build technologies adoption roadmaps. But in the long term, we also see this region is crucial to helping rebalance technology value chains. Semiconductors are at the heart of the development of key technologies like AI. Artificial intelligence needs specific tailor-made pieces of silicon to run efficiently complex data workloads and needs local engineers specialized in design, testing, and assembly of the next generation of silicon enabled for AI technologies. Intel can work together with the IADB on this front, and we're very excited to take on this project. So thank you.
It was a great conversation this afternoon. I think having the opportunity to share both with President Mauricio Carone and with Mr. Bruce Andrews, their insights in the future of AI takes us to realize that artificial intelligence is the capacity of augmenting the quality of us as individuals and the opportunity of seeing where societies grow in a better and stronger way. So I want to thank you both for taking your time this afternoon, welcoming also Intel to this great alliance and looking forward for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio, for IDB perspective. Definitely, IDB is doing a lot in this region for the responsible use of AI, and you make a big progress in the last years. I will also want to thank you, Bruce, for being here. It's an exciting time at Intel in the region. You just let us know that we are moving forward, especially in skills, helping governments in the skills and helping government to embrace technologies and tech superpowers.